What's going on, everyone? Stocks with Kenny here. Today we'll be reacting to a video from Josh Hawley questioning one of Biden's nominees for a district court, I believe, on discrimination laws. Currently I hold the position that affirmative action is a racist policy. You guys can agree or disagree with me. Let me know in the comment sections what you believe about affirmative action. But personally, to me, affirmative action is racist, right? Regardless if it's positive or negative, any race-based discrimination is wrong, right? Because I hold the position that we're all created equal, right? If you're capable of doing something, I'm also capable of doing something. It's up to whether I as an individual want to do the work or not, or I have the capacity to actually perform at that level. It will determine my outcome, right? But we also focus on equal outcomes. Like now we're making policies based on that. And that's, to me, that's a pipe dream. That's too idealistic, right? It's not realistic to expect that. But let's get into this video.
Ms. Hodge, I want to ask you about an article that you wrote for Bloomberg about affirmative action in universities. You argued that opposition to race-based affirmative action, I'm going to quote you now, is rooted in part in the belief that racism and systems that imposed barriers based on race in American society no longer exist, end quote. I had been under the impression that the argument was actually the opposite, that race-based affirmative action imposes race-based barriers on particular racial groups. Now, your article was about...
Exactly, because at the end of the day, you're not having an equal standard for these people. Based on their race, you apply either a lower standard or a higher standard. And that's my main issue with affirmative action, is that because they full focus on, hey, we need people that look different in these corporate, either corporate jobs or in any job, any field you can name, that they were intentionally like, oh, he's good enough, and put him in, when if it was someone of a group that's overrepresented in said field, aka the Asians in Harvard, you put a higher standard on them, or you'd be like, they not Yale material. But because let's change the person, same score, but you change their skin color to black, oh, let's put them in, they're good enough. Right. And then there's studies out there that show that affirmative action has a long-term negative effect on black students, because those people who were able to gain the opportunities because of affirmative action, they usually drop out at a higher rate. That's a study I remember off the top of my head. And that's what woke my eyes up to saying, hey, affirmative action ain't as good as it sounds. That's the world of words, right? Oh, it sounds nice. But what's the world of reality say? That, hey, you're setting up these black students for failure in the long term. But, standards is racist, apparently. That's why they had to, they're trying to, take out the bar exam, I think. I don't remember, but let me guys know in the comment section if you guys...
About the Harvard case, so I take it you're familiar with that case. Is that fair to say?
Thank you, Senator, for the question. Yes, I was writing an article following the decision that was made by the First Circuit in that particular piece of Bloomberg.
Gotcha. So the court documents, court filings from that case, from the Harvard case, state that, quoting now, Asian Americans needed SAT scores that were 140 points higher than white students, all other quantifiable variables being equal, to get into these elite schools. The same court filings also show that Asian American students who had the same score as African American students were about 25% likely to get into Harvard, whereas the African American student was 95% likely to get into Harvard. So basically, what the documents show is
systematic racism, right? That's verifiable proof that that's systematic racism, right? If someone came to me and said, hey, here's the facts, that I have to score 140% better than a white student to get into Harvard, right? Because I'm overrepresented. Because at the end of the day, a large part in higher academia is Asians. Asians are overrepresented in these schools, right? So now they're getting discriminated against because of this quota-based admissions policy where, oh, we need black people in there, we need Hispanic people in there, we need more white people in there, right? At the expense of people who are actually merit-wise are still better than most of the applicants that's coming in. If we applied, imagine we applied the same policy that they're doing here in Harvard with the NBA, with sports. Oh, black people are overrepresented in these sports. We need to add quotas for white players, Hispanic players, Asian players. I don't think it will go down the way it's going down in Harvard. I think people will be throwing a fit. Asians are good at academics. That's why they're overrepresented in academia. Black people are good at sports. They're they're overrepresented in sports because people can't. I don't think it's social engineering that black folks just go to sports, right? I think it's nature. Like nature, naturally, we know, hey, I have a physical advantage on average compared to other groups of people. Let me use it, right? I think that's what it is. People leveraging their unfair advantage, right? Asian Americans, I saw stats out there. I think I heard it from Larry Elder where he was saying that statistically, Asian people are more likely to put their kids through tutoring earlier on in school, more likely to do more homework, get ahead in their schoolwork compared to other groups of people. They just spend more time doing stuff in the books. And if we did a study on black folks or black America, that why they succeed so much in sports, you probably notice that they spend a lot of time playing sports. And that's probably what's due to them being so good at sports because they just spend more time in it. I think that's just my thoughts. That's just my take. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. But let's continue on the video.
And I don't know if there's much dispute about this, that Asian Americans are systemically discriminated against with these race-based policies. That's a problem, don't you think?
Senator, I will say, and thank you for the question, I'm not intimately familiar with the entirety of the report or all of the information that's contained in it. I know it is cited in the case. However, I would say that with the case that was before the court and currently now is on certiorari and coming before the Supreme Court, that the issue of race as a factor in admissions and utilized in universities is obviously what's going to be contemplated by the court, and understanding that the strict scrutiny standard is applicable. It would be a determination as to whether or not there's a compelling governmental interest, and if it's narrowly tailored to afford that interest for all who are asserting the argument.
Yeah, but is it a problem? I guess my question is it a problem for universities to make it harder for members of a certain race to be admitted to their university and to do it deliberately?
Yes, it's racist. That's racism. That's what racism is supposed to be, right? You making it harder for you. You're going out of your way to heed a certain group of people from getting a certain result just solely based on the race. That's it. That's literally Asian Americans literally can come here, file a lawsuit against her. I think they already did that, if I'm not mistaken. Let me guys know. I remember hearing about this story before, and I remember I had a whole ass argument with some friend of mine that's pro-black, and he was telling me, oh, this is the way people had it, or the institution has it better. I'm like, yo, I believe there's no one should have no special treatment. So we all play in the same playing field. And then people are gonna start crying about legacy of this, legacy of that. I'm like, hey, look. Don't blame what happened in the previous generation for where you're currently at. Because in the day, after you hit a certain age, it stopped being your parents' fault. It started being your fault. That's just my view. I just think people use that as a shield too many times where it's not applicable. That's the world of words I'm talking about. That I borrowed this terminology from Thomas Sowell, that people have this colorful way of redefining words to fit conveniently into where they think society is, right? Racism only applies if you have power. No, anyone can be racist. That's my view. You can discriminate based on anyone can discriminate based on race on a personal level. But after that, institutions, corporations, I don't agree with that. That level of discrimination, no. At a broader society, no. But on a personal level, yes, we all discriminate. When you date somebody, you discriminate. Like, come on. Let's keep it a spade. Like, yo, we all do it. So when one certain person, because someone is a certain color, he's not allowed to discriminate, but you're allowed to discriminate. How nice. That's not privilege? I don't know. Like, yo, black folks, we gotta have a sit down. We gotta be honest about this stuff. Like, are we really crying about racism because it's actually affecting us negatively? Or we want to keep the wound fresh so we could always use it as a shield when we get outcomes that we don't like? Come on. Like, let's be honest here. I want to hear in the comment section.
Is that a problem? That's what your article's about. I'm asking. You've expressed an opinion on this, so I'm just asking about your opinion. Don't you think that's a problem?
Senator, thank you for the question. The article was written in the context of really providing, in essence, a procedural roadmap of what had transpired.
Yeah, but you expressed, though, I'm sorry to interrupt you, it's just I've got so little time and I have the article in front of me. I enjoyed reading it. But you express your personal views, which is fine, by the way. I'm just asking about them. Your personal views on this case. And you say that the arguments of those who are arguing against Harvard's policies are actually anti-diversity. You say that they fail to overcome a principle that's of paramount importance to the country. I'm quoting you now: diversity matters, and its value is immeasurable, especially in education. I'm just asking you whether or not having...
If you're talking about, hey, everyone should have the same opportunities, I agree. But if you're trying to make it outcome dependent, no, I don't agree, because you can't. That's unrealistic. You can't do that, right? And people are going to try to change the definition of equality, or they find a new word, equity. I'm like, yo, that stuff is nonsense. Like, you can't, a society can't enforce that without interfering with people's freedom of choice. Hey, you have to go do this. Why? We have enough women in this field already. Now it's time, you need to go on this one, right? Literally, an authoritarian can only create equal outcomes. But equal opportunity, I feel like, yo, that's all you need to do. Society, make sure I have an equal opportunity, and then I take care of the rest. Because every day we're all different. So we're all gonna have different results. So to expect that, oh, one person did it, that means I should do the same result. I saw Stephen Curry shoot 13 threes in a game, and he made 41% of them. That means if I take 14 threes, I should make 41% of them. No, life don't work like that. Reality don't work that way. You could do the same thing and have different outcomes. Envious people saying, hey, I want that outcome. Bro, you don't know what he had to do to get that outcome. You don't know how many hours a day he had to spend working on his shooting form to get that outcome. It's the same thing with any field. Oh, this person getting paid more than me. You don't know what he did. You don't know if he had 3 certifications and 3 different things to make himself more valuable as an employee, and that's why he commands a higher salary. All you see is that, oh, me and him have the same degree. Me and him have the same work experience. You don't know how many hours he's putting in. You don't know what sacrifices he's making, and it's just, to me, it just comes off as envious. That's all it is. Everyone wants to feel entitled to having the same stuff as someone else just because they share the same title. Like, nah, life don't work that way. That's just my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know in the comment section. Let's continue.
Being Asian Americans president and able to be admitted on a fair basis with members of other racial groups, if that isn't in fact an interest that serves diversity. I mean, don't you think that that's important?
Senator Hawley, to your question, and thank you again for it, what has been stated by the court through years of dialogue and deliberation over this specific issue of affirmative action is that diversity matters.
And does that include for Asian Americans?
For everyone.
And that's your personal opinion too?
I'm stating based upon how the court has, I'm not putting my personal opinion. I believe that if I'm so fortunate to be confirmed to the district court, that my personal opinion would have no role in the deliberations that I would conduct. I would base all of my decisions on the facts presented, the arguments presented by counsel and or the individual litigants, as well as the law, and apply the law and precedent to whatever's presented to me.
Well, end of the day, I think bias still plays, your worldview still plays a factor, because end of the day, you put more weight on certain things, right? If you're in agreement with precedent, right? Oh, diversity matters. You're more likely to be like, oh, I need a more like a barrier, a higher barrier of proof to sway you from that, compared to someone that, oh, no, diversity, affirmative action is racist. You'd be like, yeah, like just give me stuff that I see eye to eye with, and boom, you got my vote, right? So it matters, like where you personally agree with certain things. But I just think it's a game, right? She's not really trying to say where she stands on things. She's just like, hey, this is what this article said. This is what it. But I don't have a problem with people that they can't just admit like, yo, yeah, that's wrong. Like discriminating based on someone's skin color is wrong, regardless if they're white, Asian, Hispanic, black. It doesn't matter. Like discriminating based on race is wrong. Now, if you're talking about dating and other stuff, that's a different beast. Right? That's a different beast. That's personal. That's like I said, it's personal. But institutions, policy, laws, no. You should not be allowed to discriminate against immutable factors that someone had no control over. Stuff that people, oh, you have control over whether you can go to college or not. Sure, you can discriminate on that. You can discriminate against on that. What skills certain people have? This person has more of the skills that I'm looking for than compared to this person. Oh, yeah, you can discriminate against that. If someone is more skilled or more proficient at a certain skill, you can pay them more compared to someone else. Even if they share the same job title, you can discriminate against on that. Like you can't control. Like end of the day, it's all about control at this point. I think this equal outcome stuff is just control freaks, honestly. They think they can control the world. There's a knob somewhere in physics where they can be like, oh, let's turn the dial now. Let's make men the same strength as women. Like, no, we're all different. Even amongst men, there's no equal outcome. There's equal opportunity though. And I think that's the only thing society can realistically enforce. Everything other than that is like you tilting towards authoritarian regime, right? Because at the end of the day, you have to force outcomes. Right, it won't happen naturally, and that's social engineering, right? That's my take. That's just my take. That's social engineering. Nature has a factor, and I think that's not like a lot of these policies. They don't consider that. They don't consider the nature like biological. I don't know. Just giving my thoughts, guys. Just giving my thoughts.
You surely could agree with the statement at this level of generality that deliberate discrimination against Asian Americans is wrong. Is that fair to say?
Senator Hawley, I say that discrimination is prohibited, and people who are discriminated against under the law, obviously the work I also do in terms of employment discrimination, if someone is discriminated against based on a protected category, that is something that that's protected against under the Constitution.
But it's not wrong. I mean, you can't just say it's wrong. I'm trying to understand why you're splitting the hairs the way you're splitting them.
Senator, I'm not splitting hairs. Discrimination is illegal.
But my question to you is, discrimination against Asian Americans is wrong. Yes?
Discrimination against anyone is wrong. Yeah.
Judge Perez, let me just finally ask you here, and I'll have some more questions for others of you for the record.
I think this is just I'll end the video there because my main thing was focused on like discrimination, right? Affirmative action is discrimination, is legal discrimination because you're putting more weight on one race over the other. Simple as that. Because if they apply this, like I don't know if I said this example already, but if they apply the same logic, the same policy standards to the NBA, I think we have a whole different conversation. It won't be as diversity matters. No, it wouldn't. You'd be like, no, you're disproportionately affecting black people. You get me? Like, at the end of the day, I just think it's vengeance politics. That's all it is. Like, we believe this happened to us. Now we got it. Like, even though Black America in this generation never suffered the slavery that they seen in movies or their teachers taught them, the level of racism that their great grandparents experienced, possibly their parents experienced, depending on how old they are. But come on. Like, end of the day, is America less racist or more racist? That's my question. That's all I care about. Hey, is it more racist or less racist? Okay, so it's less racist to this today, but you're complaining more. Why? Like, did we get softer or something? I don't know what happened, bro. But I'm just rambling at this point, guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. What you guys think of the video? Like it, agree, disagree. Let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.